So I appreciate some of the feedback from yesterday. Saw that a couple of people watched the video, so I really appreciate that. Taking the time out of your day to just go ahead and listen to what I gotta say. Um, just in case that you think I miss anything or you think I can work on anything. One gentleman said that I could get a better mic and not be too noisy. But yeah, it's true. What do you call it? I had the refrigerator in back of me. I told myself I was gonna turn it off too, and I didn't. Um, but right now, the current setup, look, it's just the phone. It's just an old school phone chilling in front of me. I do got my laptop. I got my tablet right here just for notes and stuff. But now I turned off the refrigerator. I'm in the hotel room. Got the window open so you can hear the ongoing cars and whatnot. But I mean, that would be the goal, obviously, to have a better setup. But right now, like I said, I'm just trying to get this shit off the ground, if I'm being honest. Trying to interact with people more on a real level. Like, I appreciate the feedback, though, because it is the truth. And, and I really appreciate that person coming and checking out the video. Like, damn, that's what's up. I'm down with the constructive criticism. Like, let me know. Like, shit, I love it. Um, Yesterday I did one on warehouse systems. What do you call it? I saw a lot of people talking about it. Just the warehouse management systems in general, the different types that they use, and just to summarize that video, like I was talking about the Vocalet systems, the Honeywells, the potatoes they call them, the papas they call them in Spanish. What do you call it? But they call it the Jennifer as well. Some people do. But basically, it's just a vocalist that's telling you one, one, two, two, three. Welcome to the blah 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 system, and then you just go and you select your team, and you go ahead and start picking, and it tells you where to pick, and you can use it just tells you to go to IO blah blah blah, and then you get there, you give it the check digit, and basically you start picking from there. You use phrases like repeat last pick, how much more, short pick, just different situations like that. If you guys want another video where I try to get a little bit more detail into it, just let me know. That'd be pretty cool to do as well. Like I said, I'm not an expert. It would be better if I had one like right in front of me. But I do have a tutorial video that I did a while back ago. I had my hands on one. I was able to bring it back to my hotel room, uh, do a video with it, kind of show everybody. Well, just kind of record myself using it. But I pretty much broke it into detail on what it was. So it's like the Honeywell system with the Vocalit. um, I also, I also did like the Gladiator ones, the ones where you print out labels and you're sticking the label on the pallet as well. Um, I spoke a little bit about that, but to be honest, like I wasn't too experienced in those. I mean, I don't remember these homeboys ever having any problems with them. These fools were always pretty smooth with it. The system was always pretty smooth as well. We never had like a day where the system was slow or anything like that. Um, but I remember the printers would jam a lot. It would just be mega cold inside the freezer, so it'd like mess them up and stuff. So those were some of the cons with the gladiators, but they were pretty basic to use. It just told you your batch, how many boxes you were gonna pick, and it will give you a location and stuff like that. And most of the time, like when it prints out labels, just you scan the product. You have to scan the box. Like depending on the warehouse you're at, some people like to scan. The ones that I've been to, it's always been scan the box. The box is supposed to have like a UPC, and which is pretty much a scan code, like a barcode. A UPC is like those things that you scan at the supermarket, the one in the back, the little barcode. That's what we call them in receiving when we were receiving the merchandise in from the containers or the trailers. You just scan the UPC and then you keep it going, you know? And depending on if it's already in the system, it's going to recognize the item, and if it's a new item, then it won't recognize the UPC. So, that's pretty cool. But we also talked a little bit about the Weitron system, one that I was using up in a grocery store, and stuff like that. So if anybody wants to go check them out, the RF scanners, I don't think I got too much into the RF scanners, but I got a little bit into it. But the RF scanners are pretty simple to use. You're basically going where it tells you to off the screen. Like I said, if you guys are using any certain system, just send it to me. If I don't know, I'll just say I don't know, straight up. Why am I gonna go crazy on it? I might do some research on it, but what I want to do today is I want to talk about the first day, like your first day at a warehouse. And it's pretty funny. Like, I remember my first day at the warehouse, and the funny part with me is that I got sent through an agency. My brother was already working at one of the warehouses that was affiliated with that company. So he was at the main grocery warehouse where they were shipping out all the general items. And they sent me and my little brother over to the seasonal warehouse. And so just think about it your first day. To be honest, don't be nervous. It's just like anything fucking else. One thing you do gotta know is just, depending on where you're at, obviously, you just have to get a feel for the people, get a sense for people's attitude, get a sense for how they work, Obviously, on your first day, you just kind of want to more go in and adapt, see how things are ran here. And what I mean by see people's attitude and kind of see that is the way I always see it. You walk in and you're going to notice who's a little bit more helpful than the other, They're willing to answer questions. They're willing to get a little bit more detailed into the conversation, meaning like, oh, this is how we do things, and then in this, and in this, If you really just don't give a fuck, like, fuck it, just fucking go in there, you'll figure that shit out. But, if you really want to go in there, and I'm not saying that if you don't give a fuck, you're not going to do a good job either. No. I'm just saying if you're the type of person that's going to go in and try to go above and beyond and try to, like, climb up the scale and whatnot, because I've met people with both attitudes. Some people just don't give a fuck, which is cool. They do a good job, too. And some people are kind of in there for the long haul, or they're planning to be, or, any situation like that. But, you want to kind of use that to your advantage, see who's willing to be a little bit more helpful in that sense, and just kind of get a feel for the way the day starts off. You're going to go in, you're going to be waiting for somebody. Oh, hey, I'm looking for this person, they sent me from here. Or, hey, we already met, and, it's ready for your first day and whatnot. I have some notes out here, so I'm going to start, like, getting them together, but one of the main things that I want to say is orientation. Look, if you don't want to have any problems and you just want to go in there and be a ghost and have nobody fuck with you, and you want to go in there and have a good fucking day every day, just go based off what they're saying in orientation. If certain clothes you can't wear, if you can't wear certain clothes like sweats, for the girls, like tight, skinny jeans, or like yoga pants or stuff like to work out, or if you have to have your hair in a ponytail, or you can't wear hoodies, I've seen it all. Just follow the directions. That's it. You know, all those little things do come into play. You know, I've heard of accidents. I've never seen this accident, but I've heard of accidents. A girl's hair, her ponytail gets stuck in a carousel that's moving in the mods. That shit's gonna rip your fucking hair out if that shit gets stuck. I've had homeboys that spaz out because they're wearing hoodies, and it's like, excuse me, you can't wear the hoodie. I was a lead at the time. Well, no, you know what? I'm sorry, I wasn't there. My homeboy was at the lead site, but I pretty much saw the aftermath. And this was started spazzing out. They made a whole ordeal over the hoodies, but I've had to tell a million people a million times, hey, no hoodies right now. Why? It fucks up your blind sides. Like, come on, like. And the companies have to do a good job as well saying it in the orientation. You know, I'm not just gonna go on one side and the other. If you're out here and you're also fucking part of this training squad or whatever the fuck you want to call them, you have to know how to do it. Go everything one by one. I've sat down in a good number of amounts of different companies that do their orientation process, and all of them are different. There is some that stand out more than the others, but some are just go, let's go. And the other ones are pretty they're pretty legit. They watch all the videos, they give an example, everything like that. You know, they're in orientation, just have any questions that you have, like straight up. Those people that are in that same room with you are just new to this as you are. Okay, yeah, they might have worked at a couple of other fucking warehouses, but who cares? This is your first one. You know, ask. The main thing for your first day is to ask questions. You know, I'm sure a lot of people are, don't be that person you going right away and right away. How much is my first check gonna be? You know what I mean? Like, I understand we're here for the money, for sure. But, like, that's really your first, like, thought. Like, think about your safety first. Those machines that are gonna be outside in the warehouse are not a fucking toy. Those shits will smash your fucking foot. So think about that shit first. You know? Don't worry, you're gonna get paid. You know? I have seen some 3PLs that do fuck up in payroll, but I mean, they always end up paying you back what it is. But most companies, I've never really heard too much of an issue of a actual company, but I've heard 3PLs messing up checks or stuff like that happening. So just kind of depends on what kind of situation you're in, because you might be working for a 3PL in another warehouse, or you might be working through the company. So just kind of keep that in mind. But orientation, ask for the phone number if you're gonna call off. If you guys have fucking point systems, all that shit, now is your time to ask in orientation. You know what I mean? Just get a feel for the trainer, whoever's giving the orientation. You know, I was always someone that liked to see how people spoke, in these type of situations, and what they really brought to the table, and how much attention to detail, they give, and stuff like that. It was just kind of cool to be able to see how they did in their natural habitat, in the sense that, they're trainers, or they're given that role or duty to, run the orientation. I want to see how serious they take it, because some of these companies are very, very high companies, and you don't want someone just goofing out. Like, even though it's cool, but I've seen a lot of tough decisions that had to be made. So if you're in those roles, just know you're being looked at all times from different people. You know what I mean? Orientation. What else can I say about orientation? Don't come in fucking half asleep. Don't fucking come in with your hoodie on. Same shit. Don't come in fucking with headphones on. put your phone on silent for 30 minutes or the day, it's cool. Like, pay attention. That way you're not an idiot outside asking every single thing. Even though it's cool to ask questions, don't get me wrong, but a lot of these situations, a lot of small, detailed, general rules should be explained in the orientation process. Ask what you're going to be doing. If you're going in for a certain function, if you're going to go into order select, if you're going to go in there to replenish, use a forklift, if you're going to be in there to unload, receive, whatever you're going to be in there for, ask. Proper PPE. This is basically any safety stuff that you need around. Like I said, I'm not an expert. Let's get the exact meaning for PPE. Okay. Personal protective equipment. Now you're gonna be like, ZZ reports, like, what the fuck? You don't even know what that means? Yeah, I know. I mean, I need to know a lot of stuff, and I just want to give you the exact way. Chill out. This is your personal protective equipment. If you're working in the dry, order selecting in the dry, or working in the dry zone. Water. Always remember to drink water. You might need a blade. Gloves. Steel toes. Always wear steel toes, guys. That's one thing I'm going to say. Always wear steel toes. Trust. The day a fucking pallet or some heavy fucking object falls on your toes, you're gonna remember about this shit. Wear steel toes. Buy a nice pair of $120. Here, I'm gonna give you the ones that I got. They're Caterpillar. Hold up, give me a second. Caterpillar cat. Alloy toe. Caterpillar cat alloy toe. Alloy toe. What do you call it? Yeah. Just wear steel toes. Alloy toe. Caterpillar cat. High toe. High toe. High top. Make sure they cover your ankle. Trust. Like, you just don't want your ankle fucking up. I've seen some fucking accidents that you wouldn't even believe. I'm telling you right now, get the steel toes. If you're working in the cooler, face mask, hoodie, no, sorry, not hoodie, beanie. Okay. You're gonna want a beanie. Yeah, you're gonna want a beanie if you're in the cooler. My bad, I got a phone call. I had to take that real quick. But be careful because it's slippery. So that's another thing with the PPE. You want a hook as well. Ask if they have a hook. Hooks are for when stuff is on the second floor, on the second high rack. So sometimes when there's racks and they're cut in the middle, there's one on the bottom and one on the top. The A rack and the B rack, depending on however they do it in each warehouse. There's one on the bottom, one on the top. Some companies offer hooks, so ask for a hook, guys. I know what I'm telling you. Don't jump over. You're gonna end up falling, and if you come back down and your fucking foot hits a fucking pallet and it's broken, like, just grab a fucking hook. What else? And I don't mean to be a jerk about it, guys, but trust, it's just so much fucking easier. I've seen the best pickers that just have a hook and just do everything so smoothly and are picking at 140%, making $33, $34 an hour. 70-hour weeks. So, I know what I'm telling you. If you're in the cooler, face mask, hoodie. Not hoodie. Beanie. Face mask, hoodie, sweater. Some socks. You don't have to dress too warm. it's kind of hot sometimes depending on what area in the produce you're at. But as long as you stay cool. Now, if you're in the freezer, freezer suit. I've seen guys that pick 100%, just with some jeans and a sweater on. Depending on how cold you can take it, that's up to you. But the proper PPE, liners, gloves on top. Liners are like the smaller gloves on the bottom. So liners, a pair of gloves, a pair of liners, a pair of gloves, the freezer suit. The way the homie taught me was wear some sweats on the bottom and then the freezer suit. That way you still have enough way to move around on the bottom. You're not wearing jeans or anything like that. So sweats on the bottom, just regular shirt, sweater. Most companies do let you wear a hoodie, but I'm sorry, nah, they don't. They don't let you wear a hoodie, but a lot of fools just get away with it. It is what it is. But normally a beanie would be the best thing to use. Face mask, and I know some fools don't use the face mask, but that shit's cold. And just use the gloves up as much as you can. Don't be that person that's asking for new gloves every day. Even though depending on the way you're working, yes, you will cut through a pair of gloves, but it's been a long time since I've seen workers like that. Just don't be an asshole and just fucking grabbing just because you can. Grab a pair of gloves and throw them away. Like, bro, they're still good for the next day. Like, shit like that is going to come to one day when they really don't have shit and they hit the fan and they don't have shit around. And now everybody's fucked. So, I'm just saying it in a cool way. But just remember your blades also. Pick hook you can use in all three departments. And stuff like that. So that ask about the PPE, ask what the rules are to wear in the warehouse, what they allow, what they don't allow. Safety gloves, safety goggles. I've seen people that just like to wear safety goggles throughout the day, or safety glasses. Markers, blades, razor blades, Sharpies, anything like that. Pens, they should most of the time I've seen a lot of companies that just straight up supply them. So, like I said, just if they got a locker, just don't be a jerk and just fucking losing shit every day. Yes, it does happen, but it's always just to be good aware of your stuff, you know what I mean? So that's part of the orientation. Like I said, most of the time they also make you take a test. They're very common questions. What I mean by that is like, they're very obvious questions. You'll get an idea of once you're there. It's hard to think one right off the bat because I'm kind of thinking off the top of my head. I do got a couple of notes down, but it's just kind of more like just pinpoint topics, Not like I just sat down and wrote, oh yeah, I remember this question, but a lot of stuff is very straight up, common sense. Ask about the clock in, asking about exactly how to go ahead and clock in, what time you're supposed to clock in, what's the earliest you can clock in. If you miss a punch, what happens? A lot of dudes, a lot of fools and a lot of fulitas, a lot of guys and a lot of girls, they end up fucking up, and sometimes the managers have an attitude, I guess, it's just a little extra work for their fucking doing, but shit. Don't feel bad, shit happens. I forgot to clock in a bunch of times, but, ask about your hours. I've seen people that just forget to clock in, so, just forget to clock out. So just keep in mind on that. Check what time are your breaks and your lunches. What time you're supposed to actually be going. Because most time in warehouses, they all go around the same time. Like, meaning on department. Like, I remember when I was in a freezer warehouse. Well, I was in a grocery warehouse. But all the freezer used to go with the freezer. And then the dry would come in later. You know what I mean? They would take care of the produce all through the night. So us and the dry, we had different times. The guys from the mez, they had a different time slot in lunch, so and break. So just kind of keep all those things in mind. Some some depending on the company, they offer travel time. So like let's say you're in the freezer and the freezer's all the way in the back, they give additional time in your breaks and lunches. So you get a 15-minute break plus 5 minutes of travel time. Let's put that for example. Same thing with the dry, but maybe they won't give as much time. So, you know, just that way you know you're on time. That way you know what time you're supposed to clock in. If they have pre-shift meetings, just that's another thing I need to pinpoint down. Um, um, Always be there for the meetings. The managers, supervisors, they give information. They stretch out. That way you won't be over here cramping up during the fucking middle of the shift. Over here fucking dying. It hasn't happened to me, but I've gotten cramped up before I go to sleep, and that shit sucks. Um, I've given a bunch of pre-shift meetings. I've been a part of a bunch of pre-shift meetings, and it's always just better to be there. Don't have your fucking chips out. Don't have fucking McDonald's out. Some fool put that in one of the posts that I said that does, a couple of the homeboys were just eating McDonald's. Like, it is what it is, It is what it is. You're going to have those people. And it's cool, like, hey, if the manager ain't saying shit, if the lead ain't saying shit, well, fuck it. That's on them. But, you go in, you stretch out, you do how you gotta do. My bad, had another phone call. But, yeah, that way, like I'm saying, I lost my train of thought. Oh, the pre-shift meetings, I'm sorry, I got it right here. This is where they give information. If you fools are gonna be fucking staying overtime, if you fools are gonna be staying late, what the plan is for next week, what the rules are, headphones, no headphones, everybody's fucking up, everybody's doing a good job. Just attend those meetings. At the end of the day, like if you have a question, just ask it. I prefer people that ask questions at the end of the day. To be honest, like I want everybody to be on the same page if they're running in the team that I have. Everybody knows what's up, what's good. you know? Like I said, that's just me though. But if you're a trainer, if you're a lead out there, if you're a manager, if you're a supervisor, whatever the fuck you are, just like I said, know that people are always looking. Take those shit serious. That's your team. I'm not gonna be right here saying that I was the best at everything, but I took my shit serious too. I knew when it was time to fuck around. I knew when it was time to get shit done. Remember, there's someone looking at what you're doing as a sense like the manager's there, your boss is there. You know, they're seeing the way you talk in front of everybody. So just kind of keep all that in mind. Those pre-shift meetings are cool. Now, a tour of the warehouse. That's another thing that I can write down right there. They're going to give you a tour. And look, no one is expecting you to get this shit from one day to the next. Just chill out. Learn about going in tiles the correct way, how to go down an aisle, how to not go down an aisle, because there is a correct way. The warehouse is structured and the warehouse is, in order for everybody to be going down one way. If you're on pallet jacks, down one way. Forklifts and some other machines may have an okay, I guess you could say, to go up and down the aisle whatever way they please, but for the most part, people that are going to be order selecting, machines should always be going one side. If you go into an aisle all the way down, go down that aisle. There's no trying to turn in, bust a bitch or bust a U-turn in the middle of the aisle and go back out that aisle. No. Or don't reverse out the aisle because there might be somebody coming in. Learn the warehouse. Like I said, don't try to be a hero. Don't try to be Mr. Oh, I'm going to come in and on my second. No, don't. Especially if it's your first time. Come in, ask, okay, this is where they stage the pallets. How do they stage them? Between the lines, are they putting everything by store number? Are they just putting it, coming in and dropping stuff off randomly? Like, what's the deal here? Ask those questions. You know, do we leave a space in between when we're staging the pallets? Like, what aisles are we supposed to go down in? Is there certain machines that can't go down a certain aisle? Stuff like that. Find out where your department is going to be. So if you're going to be in receiving, go to the receiving dock. There's no reason for you to be in the loading dock. You know, go focus on the receiving dock, learn the dock doors. All right, it's going to be dock door 66 all the way down to 100, or dock door, 33 down to 100, whatever it is. Get familiar with your area, get familiar with whatever department you're going to be in. Order selectors, learn the aisles, learn any funky aisles, because sometimes you got to go into another room to go get this type of box and this and that. So really pay attention, on the way the racking is put. Like I said, some have A locations, B locations, C locations, and you'll see what I mean once you're there. But like I said, no one is expecting you, or don't think that just the way that person or the way that trainer is saying certain shit, or the way everybody comes in learning. Even if the guy next to you in the orientation has experience, he learned somewhere else, just like you're doing right now. So relax. Sometimes they have like different areas, large and awkward boxes. They have glass aisles, meaning like there's glass items, inner case aisles. So that's what those areas are for. Like those tours in the warehouse are for, just to see what where everything is at located, around the warehouse, obviously. Even though I sound stupid saying that, but there is certain aisles that are dedicated to certain things. So you'll go pick the general stuff first, then at the end you might go pick the inner cases, is what I'm trying to say. And you might have to skip 2 or 3 aisles, so remember that trainer might be having a fucked up ass day and they just want to get that tour over with. And they're like, all right, look, all these aisles right here are general. Then you skip down 3 aisles, there's the inner case, and he takes a hard left into an aisle that has nothing in it. I'm pretty sure some people have a fucked up experience in their tour around the warehouse and just orientation in general. So just kind of keep that in mind. If you don't understand something, say something. When it comes to learning the machine, please, please, please be safe. These machines are not a toy. Don't go in there trying to haul ass. Don't go in there trying to go crazy. I'm going to tell you a story right now. Me and my brother and my homeboy were training one day. And there was a couple of other people that were training new associates. Maybe like 5. But me, my brother, my homeboy are training. And I think the homie signed too. But the homegirl signed, I'm sorry. That's the homegirl right there. We're training. And my trainee and me, I'm going over everything, kind of giving them, a gist of the warehouse, letting them know about the machine. And, we're doing our thing. My homie goes with his trainee, and they go ahead and get started. Since I'm over here trying to explain to my trainee, how I like to train and how I like to do this, and giving them these ideas, these fools go ahead and start picking my homie and the other trainee. So cool, we go. After a couple of minutes, after a cool little minute, I tell my trainee, all right, I'm going to go ahead and hop on the machine. And by this time, they had already trained him a couple of days on the machine and whatnot. Or did they? Yeah. They had already came in like one day to train him or whatever. So this was his first day officially coming in and training on, you know, we didn't train him. It was I think it was the leader, the trainer. I mean, I've done so many that I honestly did forget a couple of ways that they do it at the warehouse, but this was a long time ago. I tell this fool, all right, just follow me. Go ahead and, you know, follow me. At the time, they would let us use two people on a pallet jack. So that shit was crazy. I was one of the people that got to experience, and the warehouse gave the okay. This was back in like 2014. And so yeah, I do remember. I told him, go ahead and hop on. I didn't tell him to follow me. I said, go ahead and hop on, and we're over here going. And we turned into the aisle. I see that the homeboy that my homie was training is just standing in the aisle. You know? That fool's just straight up standing there, not saying anything, and my homie's nowhere to be found. We go ahead, we start picking the order, and this fool just doesn't move. Like, you know, he's just right there standing, and at the time, we didn't really notice anything because we didn't see anything at the time. So we go ahead and we're picking the order, and we had already passed these fools because my homie was in the restroom at the time, and this fool was just right there standing. So then I told my trainee, I was like, hey, you know what? This fool's been standing there for a cool minute. Like, let me go see what's up with this fool, dog. You know, like in a cool way, like, hey, are you good? Because like it had been a cool minute already. Like, we had already been a pretty good deep into the order, and this fool was just straight standing there. So I wanted to check if everything was cool. I walk up to this fool, and he sees me, I see him. He doesn't have no look on his eye. Just like a blank look, you know? And I just look down, and there's a puddle of blood. And I was like, yo, stay right there. Obviously, you know, he couldn't move, but I was like, do not move, man. I run, I go grab my supervisor, and this fool, my supervisor, is literally just coming into work. He has his bag on and everything. So I don't know if anybody's kind of gone through that. I hope not, because it was fucked up. But I see my supervisor, and I tell him, yo, we have an emergency. It has blood. This fool just drops his shit, and we run over there. This fool, when that happened, you know, basically, you know, they called the ambulance and they came to pick this fool up, and he had a shattered ankle. What had happened was, my homie and this fool had started the order, and my homie had to go to the restroom. So this fool was just like, hey, stay right here, don't get on the machine, you know? Like, yeah, I know you trained for a day or whatever, but you need to be careful. Like, just don't get on the machine. I'm gonna go use the restroom. Well, my homie went to the restroom. This fool hopped on the machine, trying to do that shit himself, and he went and hit a rack. And he smashed his ankle. So that's what I'm saying. If you don't feel comfortable on the machine, ask for a little bit more training. If you don't feel comfortable, say something. Never put your foot in front of the machine. You're going to fucking shatter your ankle. They ended up taking that fool. From what I heard, I don't know, he was hired through a staffing agency. So I don't even know what ended up really happening. Never really asked his cousin because, I didn't want to bring up any bad, like, memories and shit. And I'm sorry, but I forgot to say that part. I had gone back to my trainee and I was like, yo, dog, just chill right here. We have a little bit of an emergency. And that was like, what happened? He's like, dude, he's like, that's my cousin. I told him, I was like, this fool smashed his ankle. He's like, dog, that's my cousin. I was like, my bad, my boy. And then, it is what it is, dog. Unfortunately, it sucks. I guess his cousin said that he was like a soccer player in community college and shit, but that's what I'm saying. Like, this goes out to everybody out there. Like, I've seen a lot of homeboys and met a lot of homeboys that wanted to grow up and do sports careers, and they just said their body had fucked up on them or something. So, you know, just keep that in mind. All the 40, 50, 30-year-olds out there, you ain't the only one hurting in that warehouse. There's a reason we all end up in these type of situations. But it's not a bad situation. I love the warehouse world, the underground world of logistics. But, just keep that in mind. Please, on your training, ask questions. Learn how to properly use the horn. Stand on the pallet jack. Hold the pallet jack. Get comfortable with the machine that you're going to be using if you have an assigned machine. Whatever machines you're on. Whether it be a pack mule, center rider, pallet jack, an electric pallet jack, double pallet jack, triple pallet jack, cherry picker, dock stalker, a reach truck, a forklift, sit down forklift, anything. Just please be safe on those shits. Don't fuck your shit up. The systems. I mean, we went over the potato system, but basically, like, most warehouses, you're going to use an RF scanner. Most warehouses, you're going to use a Vocalet system, depending on what you're doing. For me, my shit was straight to the picking. So I got a Vocalet. You put your Vocalet on. It has no fucking sponge. It has no fucking nothing. So you're over here, your ear, you're putting like a napkin or a towel. Or I always just ended up putting nothing on it, but that shit hurt my ear. Just take care of the systems. You know what I mean? Any questions you have with the systems, just go ahead and ask. You can even ask me. Like I said, I got a tutorial on one of the Vocalet systems. But that would be pretty cool to do some tutorials on just systems like that in general. But always record your Vocalet. Like, if you're going to be picking, always record outside on the floor. Don't record inside in a quiet room, because it's just going to mess up your shit. What do you call it? Train your words. Ask what the proper way is. If you can switch up your words. Some people like to use different words for different things. Like, if it tells you to say alpha, that basically means A. You could change it to ant or on or whatever you want that starts with an A in some warehouses. But always just the basic is cool. Alpha, Bravo, Charlie, For the Spanish speakers, if you guys speak Spanish, if you're more comfortable talking in Spanish, they also have the Spanish Vocalet system. It'll talk to you in Spanish. But basically, same thing. Like, take your time when it comes to the system. Like, take your time when you're gonna learn it. Learn it step by step. Take down notes. Write down notes. Because at the end of the day, you're gonna be doing the same thing every day eventually, and you're gonna get used to it. So really take advantage of the trainer you have. Ask questions. That's what the fuck they're there for. And just really look, when you go leave your first day, or when you tell yourself, you know what, that was a proper first day right there. Lay in your bed and lay down and go, what did I do today? What was step by step? Welcome to your life. There's no turning back. That's going to be your life now. You're gonna go in, wake up, clock in, get your fucking system, get your grab your Vocalate, grab everything, and you're gonna get to work. So you might as well put it in your head, how exactly was I doing this? What exactly was I doing? Was I lumping? Was I doing put away? Was I, lumping is when you're unloading. Um, or was I lumping? So what was I doing while I was unloading containers? I was focusing on the number and making sure all the same boxes were together. What was I doing while I was picking? Okay, I was making sure that I was picking the correct quantity with accuracy. If you're on the forklift, all right, I remember, you go, you grab the pallet, you bring it down, you make sure you have the correct item, then you go put it into a location. Just anything, receiving, whatever. Go through it in your head once again and put it in your mind. This is what I'm going to be doing from now on. This is my function. That's the way I would always see it. Honestly, I know I talk a lot, but just know that people at the warehouse talk a lot more. People love to talk. So if there's something that you don't want them to know, don't say shit. Straight up. Just what are your plans there? Do you plan to be there in the next 5 years, 10 years, 3 months, 4 months, 5 months? Are you going to be that somebody that just comes in and out, which is always cool, but don't go in there, just know that people love to talk, you know? Just depending on how you start, like I said, with an agency or with the company, like I said, just be careful. You're gonna have a lot of different people in there. You're gonna have some assholes. You're gonna have some pricks. You're gonna have some cool ass people. You know, it just is what it is. Some people are mad cool. Some people you could just tell they have a fucking attitude. Remember, some people don't need to be there. Just know that and keep that in mind. No matter how they may look, no matter how they may dress, no matter what, they don't have to be there. They're just waiting for the day to end. They got money in the bank. They have a happy life at home. They're straight. They're comfortable with them. I've met a lot of people like that they don't like to rub it in. I wouldn't say rub it in is a good sense. I just know, like, I guess I feel like people get comfortable with me and they tell me, because I do work for a third party that travels around, so they know that I'm not going to be there in the next 6 months. They know that I'm not going to be there with time. So I guess they feel comfortable with me, like, yo, bro, I don't need to be here. Even girls, even chicks, just women out there, just like, yo, like, I'm good, like, this and that, like, cool. The homeboy's like, yo, man, I got money, I got property, I got my portfolios, all that shit. So just kind of keep that in mind. There's people that you fuck with, there's people that you don't fuck with. Don't be a little clique right there. Trying to gang people together and this or that. Like, bro, we ain't in high school no more. This is like real life, Some people depend on these jobs, And just remember, like, you're gonna see the guys and the girls that have been there, 10, 15, 20 years. And they might have it cool with the managers or the superintendents or the supervisors or whatever, But it just is what it fucking is. Performance, take your time. For the first, just get comfortable. All the bonus, all the incentives, all that shit can wait. Your main focus when you get in there should be safety, accuracy, attitude, and your performance. You notice how I put performance at the end. Safety first, accuracy, attitude, performance. There's a lot more things that are important. But right now, off the top of my head, those four are just, remember, always be aware of your surroundings. always have your head up in a fucking warehouse. There might be a machine coming and you don't even hear it. You know, if you're driving on a machine, there might be people walking around and you might not hear them. Stop at every aisle. Learn all the rules. You never want to be involved in an accident. It will happen. It might happen. I hope it doesn't happen. But sign out your inspection sheets. You know, that should also be in the beginning, right? Like before you even get on your machine, remember to sign your inspection sheets. Check out your machine, all the machinery. Make sure it's working properly. If it's not, report it. They're going to say that during the orientation. But safety should always be your main priority, especially when going in there. No one's going to take care of you like you are. So please, safety should always be the main focus. Accuracy, if you want to keep that job, accuracy. The reason they're looking for somebody else is because the last guy couldn't do it. Accuracy. Before you go fast, before you start moving fast, before you start hitting those incentives, make sure you're doing the job with accuracy. Make sure you're doing it correctly. Attitude. Just have a good fucking attitude. I'm not saying you have to be over here smiling all the time, but unfortunately I've seen homeboys that get fired just for that. For not saying good morning. I work for a 3PL, so it's very easy to kick us out. You know? But same thing, if you work for the company, I mean, come on, man. Don't be a shitty towards us 3PLs either. You know, we're just there to help. Don't blame us. You know, we should all just be getting along, trying to get out of here on time, making this money. But I think just attitude in general, you know, it'll change the people around you. Believe me. Or I don't know if it's just me. But I'm not going to say I'm always in the best mood. I'm not going to say I'm always have a happy fucking face on. No. But, you know, you show these people respect. You treat people the way you want to be treated. You know, you try to treat people as if that was your brother, sister, mom, dad, cousin, you know, daughter, son, if they're talking to them like that. How would you want them talking to your family members? You know, I know it sounds a little like cliche or a little like, this is cringe, but it's true. Now, believe me, if some people try to have an attitude, shit, I could have an attitude too. So just know that. And I know you guys feel the same way. That's what I'm saying. Just remember, like, leads and managers and, you know, directors aren't always dicks. You know, like, we just want to make sure you're safe. We want to make sure we come in here, get the job done. Let's just all have a good attitude. Nobody should be going in there right at the beginning of the day, fucking shit up for everybody. And then that's when you focus on performance. Once you master going in and master your craft at picking or reach truck or receiving or whatever it is, that's when you start moving fast. You know, that's when you start moving fast and hitting those incentives, hitting those bonuses, topping out at the pay scale. But you know, all of that, it comes with safety. You see a lot of people that go over the pallets in the freezer, jumping over pallets, you know, putting their feet on the forks when they're picking, like all those little things. You just have to be careful. Just remember, it's not with your foot. That box, those extra $10. Well, I don't want to say that extra $10 boost, but that extra $20, $30 on your paycheck isn't worth you getting hurt. You know what I mean? I know I probably miss a lot of things, but I'll be making a lot more videos in the future, so it really don't matter. We can go over another video on another first day, but that's just kind of what, you know, what I would say to expect on a first day at a warehouse. You know, just ask about those things, ask questions, ask about everything. The best fucking thing to do is ask questions, period. Take notes too. Just go in and remember, welcome to your life. There's no turning back. Unless you want to. Then people get tired of that shit. People don't want to work at a warehouse all fucking day. or for the rest of their life. You know, it just is what it is. That's why I'm trying to do this. I love working at a warehouse, but I'm sorry, I can't do it all the time. I'll go in and like inspect stuff and make sure you fools are working safe, but fuck, to be picking all day, or to be packing all day, or to be receiving all day, like fuck. You know. But yeah, safety, accuracy, attitude, performance, guys. Orientation, ask questions, proper PPE, remember to clock in, pre-shift meetings, listen to that shit. Ask about your break and lunches. Tour of the warehouse. If you have any questions, remember to ask about certain aisles, golden aisles, meaning like golden rules. Because I've been to a warehouse where there was just cherry pickers allowed in one aisle, no other machinery at all. And if they saw you going in there, you'd get fired right away. I think they had like a camera in that aisle, just to be sure. The machines are no toys, so please, guys, if you don't feel comfortable, don't even get on. I've seen so many people that weren't ready, and they still threw their asses on there. I didn't, but I have seen some people do it. I did maybe once or twice or three, but I mean, I was right there behind that person, making sure they were straight. They gotta learn, right? The system, learning the new system. Remember, record outside on the floor, not inside a nice quiet room. Remember, people love to talk, so don't talk too much. Yeah, I mean, I'm doing it right now, but I'm not trying to burn anybody or put anybody on the spot. No companies on the spot. Just me, you know. I fuck up sometimes too. And just remember, like I said, that one fool that fucked up his leg on the first day trying to be a hero. You know, I understand he was trying to get started and everything, but I don't know. If you just don't feel comfortable, just relax. Appreciate you guys listening. Everybody have a good one. I'll probably record something else tomorrow. We'll see what's good.